In 1982, owning a copy of this movie I'm about to show you could have gotten your house raided by British police. It's not just horror history, it's a criminal record. Tonight, we're stepping into the deep, dark, and highly illegal vault of the video nasties. For those who don't know, this wasn't just a slang term. In 1980s Britain, a moral panic swept the nation. The government officially blacklisted 72 low-budget horror movies, declaring them a threat to society. Police literally raided mom and pop rental shops and confiscated VHS tapes like they were contraband drugs. 39 of those films were successfully prosecuted and legally banned for obscenity. We're counting down 10 of the most notorious, boundary-pushing films on that list. We're tracking exactly why they terrified governments, how they got past censors, and if they're worth a watch today. So lock your doors, check your VHS tapes, and let's dive in. Let's start with a movie you absolutely know, but might not realize was once classified as a danger to public morality. Sam Raimi's masterpiece, The Evil Dead. Before it became a multi-million-dollar franchise, this was a gritty, relentless, ultra-low-budget film shot by a bunch of freezing kids in a cabin in Tennessee. When it arrived on UK home video, the Mary Whitehouse-led Crusaders absolutely lost their minds. Censors didn't care about the dark comedy or the creative camera angles. They focused entirely on the sheer violence, the fake blood, the brutal dismemberment, and most famously controversial tree assault scene. The movie was branded a video nasty, pulled from the shelves, and became a poster child for the censorship debate. The verdict? Is it worth the watch? Absolutely. It's an essential masterpiece. What makes it interesting is that a film that was once banned for being repulsive is now universally celebrated for its DIY filming genius. The Evil Dead was banned out of panic over gore. Our next film was banned for how genuinely uncomfortable it is to sit through. I Spit on Your Grave, originally titled Day of the Woman. This is the definitive, quintessential revenge film. It tells the story of Jennifer Hills, a New York writer who rents a cabin in the woods and suffers a prolonged, horrific attack by a group of locals, survives, and systemically hunts them down one by one. The UK censors banned it outright, claimed it glorified violence against women, and acted as pure exploitation. But over the decades, critics have fiercely debated this. Many argue it's actually a feminist text because it doesn't sugarcoat the trauma, though I tend to disagree because of how the revenge plays out. The revenge is well-deserved, but in a manner that I don't think is realistic. The verdict? This is not one for the faint of heart. It's brutal, bleak, and deeply upsetting. But as a piece of transgressive exploitation cinema, it's an essential study on how far a filmmaker is willing to push an audience. Next up is arguably the most controversial film ever made, Ruggero Deodato's Cannibal Holocaust. Long before the Blair Witch Project or Paranormal Activity, this Italian production invented the found footage genre. The story follows a rescue team searching for a missing documentary crew in the Amazon. They find the crew's lost film reels, and the footage reveals they were brutally tortured and eaten by local tribes. The framing was so convincing that when the movie premiered in Italy, authorities genuinely believed that this was a real snuff film. The authorities confiscated the reels, and the director, Diodato, was literally arrested and charged with murder. He had to bring his actors into court and onto live television to prove that they were still alive. While the human deaths were fake, the main reason this movie remains heavily censored and controversial today is the real, unsimulated animal cruelty on screen. The verdict? Several animals were killed for real during production. Because of that, it remains one of the hardest watches on this list. If you like your horror with a massive dose of surreal style and gooey practical effects, look no further than Lucio Fulci's Zombie Flesh Eaters, also known as Zombie 2. Firstly, there's a real underwater live action fight between a tiger shark and a zombie. Yes, a stuntman in zombie makeup fights a shark. Second, there's the infamous splinter scene, where a woman's eye is slowly, excruciatingly pushed into a sharp piece of wood. It was the hyper-detailed eye trauma that earned the movie an immediate total ban in the UK. The verdict? This is a top-tier horror classic. The atmosphere is incredible. The score is iconic. And the gore is operatic artistry. It's an absolute must-watch. Our fifth film is a perfect example of a movie that was banned completely because of marketing rather than the movie itself. Abel Ferrara's The Driller Killer. This is a gritty, artsy, low-budget character study about a New York artist who's slowly driven insane by the noise of a punk rock band next door and the pressure of poverty. He snaps, grabs a portable drill, and begins killing the city's homeless population. The movie itself is quite slow, atmospheric, and art house adjacent. So why did it get banned? Because the distributor put a massive, incredibly graphic image of a man getting a drill spun into his head right on the VHS cover. It sat on open shelves in family video stores where children could see it. The public outcry was massive, and the film was snatched up by prosecutors. The verdict? If you're expecting a fast-paced slasher, you'll be disappointed. But if you want a greasy, grimy snapshot to late 70s New York counterculture, it's a fascinating watch. Lucio Fulci strikes again. Number 6 is The Beyond, widely considered the crown jewel in his Seven Gates of Hell trilogy. The plot makes absolutely no logical sense, and it doesn't need to. A young woman inherits an old hotel in Louisiana, only to discover it was built directly on top of a literal gateway to hell. As the gates open, reality begins to unravel, and the dead begin to walk. Fulci treats this movie like a waking nightmare. It's filled with surreal, melting set pieces, tarantula attacks, and faces getting eroded by acid. Censors couldn't handle the dreamlike brutality, labeling it obscene. The verdict? If you love gothic atmosphere mixed with melt-your-face gore, The Beyond is a masterpiece. It values mood and shocking imagery over plot logic, and is incredibly unique. If Cannibal Holocaust was the smart, artsy pioneer of the cannibal genre, Umberto Lenzi's Cannibal Ferox, released in the US as Make Them Die Slowly, was its sleazy, mean-spirited younger brother. The setup is similar. 3 cynical urbanites travel to the Amazon to disprove cannibalism. only to encounter a sadistic drug dealer that's torturing the locals. The tribes retaliate, and our main characters get caught in the crossfire. The film gleefully bragged on its promotional posters that it was banned in 31 countries. It earned that reputation by ramping up graphic mutilation to an absolute maximum, including an infamous scene that involves meat hooks that I can't describe. The verdict? It's incredibly mean and exploitative, and heavily padded with real animal cruelty footage. It's a tough watch, but it stands as the absolute peak of the Italian cannibal boom's excess. Coming in at number 8, we have Joe D'Amato's Anthropophagus, also known to horror fans as the Grim Reaper. The film follows a group of tourists who visit a remote, beautiful Greek island, only to find it's completely deserted. They soon discover why. A shipwreck survivor went mad from starvation, resorted to cannibalism, and is now stalking the island as a towering, monstrous beast. This film crawled onto the video nasty list because of 2 specific scenes. One involves the killer ripping out and consuming something deeply unspeakable during a pregnancy sequence. And the other involves the killer literally consuming his own internal organs during the climax. It was so extreme that for years rumors circulated that D'Amato used real medical footage. Believe it or not, 90% of this movie is actually very slow, atmospheric, old school suspense thriller. But the final 10% is so extreme that it permanently cemented this film into exploitation history. Number 9 takes us to the brilliant Marvo Baba in his 1971 film, The Bay of Blood, also released under the title Twitch of the Death Nerve. This movie is historic. It's the literal blueprint for the entire American slasher craze of the 1980s. The plot revolves around a wealthy heiress who's murdered, triggering a chain reaction of brutal, greedy killings around a beautiful bay as various characters try to secure an inheritance. If you've seen Friday the 13th Part 2, you'll recognize several kills because they were copied shot for shot. Most famously, the sequence where a couple is impaled with a spear while in bed together. The sheer body count and mechanical nature of the violence shocked the UK a decade after it was made. The verdict? Unlike some of the sleazier films on the list, The Bay of Blood is shot beautifully, incredibly influential, and darkly funny. It is essential viewing for a true slasher fan. We close our list with a legendary American summer camp slasher, The Burning. Following a cruel prank gone wrong, a severely burned camp counselor named Cropsey returns years later to seek bloody revenge of a brand new batch of teenagers. It features early appearances from Jason Alexander, Holly Hunter, and Fisher Stevens, and a roaring rock score by Rick Wackerman, and jaw-dropping practical effects by legendary Tom Savini. This film was banned squarely because of one scene, the infamous Raft Massacre. Cropsey ambushes a group of teens floating down the river on a raft, and in a matter of seconds, unleashes a flurry of hyper-violent, slow-motion garden shear edits that Savini designed to perfection. The censors immediately deemed the film be seized. The verdict? The Burning is easily one of the best slashers of the 1980s. It has great pacing, fantastic practical gore, and an incredibly menacing villain. The craziest thing about the entire video Nasties Panic, almost every single one of these films is now available completely uncut and beautifully restored in 4K, and legal to buy or stream worldwide. What governments once feared would destroy the fabric of society is now celebrated as physical media art. Which of these 10 banned classics is your favorite? Have you braved the horrors of the cannibal holocaust? Or do you prefer the slasher style of The Burning? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the dark side of cinema history, make sure you like and subscribe to officially join the Real Cult. Okay, bye.